Hello and welcome to the Crepan podcast. This is Killian, and today we have Squall. Say hello, Squall.
Hello, Squall.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Glad you think so. I think we'll start off with the first question that I give everybody, which is, how long have you been playing this lovely game?
Well, I found this game when I was 13 years old. I was either just going into high school or just started. I can't remember. Anyways, so 17 years now.
17 years is a long time to be playing one game. How have you kept yourself preoccupied during all that time?
Mainly, I don't do much, and I just talk to people, and sometimes I cause mischief.
Only sometimes. Aren't you the Pirate King?
Well, that would say, I guess, a legacy term from Tenniel. She was the pirate queen. If I had my druthers, I would have went with just straight warlord. But Pirate King was kind of stuck to me, and I can't shake it, so it's cool.
Speaking of Tanel, we had a question from someone asking if you thought that you had filled her shoes.
Well, that is it's kind of a loaded question because Care / Tenniel / Josh and I have different aims for Idola. He was very much about keeping it fun, keeping it kind of on the fringe, and not having an establishment. And when I took over, we kind of had to adjust our approach because we weren't self-sustainable. We didn't have any money, we didn't have any infrastructure, and we just couldn't support ourselves. So if I had to say that, have I filled Tenio's shoes? No, I haven't, but it was by design. I think Idola now is better off in a lot of ways than we were under Care, and we don't struggle for members, we don't struggle for money, and we don't struggle to find ships, and we have capabilities now that we didn't ever have under Care. But again, that was by his design. He wanted it that way.
Why?
I think it was because of his love of being anti-authoritarian, and he kind of modeled Tenniel after the character Malcolm Reynolds on Firefly. So that was very much a you live by the seat of your pants type character, and he really liked to emulate that.
Oh, I see. So what is it that you do in Idola?
Mainly nothing.
That doesn't sound very fun.
We have described ourselves as the intergalactic retirement home. It's really just a fun place for veterans of the game to hang out and cause trouble sometimes. And in Idola, we kind of have the maxim that nobody's forcing you to do anything. You can do whatever the hell you want. Somebody like Sin is off hunting all the time. I like to mix it up. I hunt, force train, fly back and forth. Occasionally go pick stuff up, but we kind of just do whatever we want.
Now, you've been you for a really long time. What do you think your defining moment was in the game?
Well, there's different phases of this character. I've been Squall for 17 years. I've literally been Squall longer than I've been an adult. So in a lot of ways, he's permeated me as a person, and I've permeated him as a character. As far as in character achievements, there's two that really stand out. One is the attack on the Shadowstone, where Falling Federation, which I was the commander of the army at the time. It was a old red scenario. We convinced the Imperial defector Vir Kaldir to bring an Imperial Star Destroyer into Falling Federation space, specifically the system Beta, and we were able to board the ship, take over, and it was at the time one of the biggest battles that had ever taken, probably still the biggest battle that's ever taken place if you don't count the later Battle of Beta. And then the other one was as a pirate, when Kai and I took down Joni Yuma's dragon armored transport. That was probably the most fun I've ever had in this game.
Those do sound like fun times. But I have a question for you. It's a personal question. I was talking to somebody just last night about red scenarios, and their argument was the game was so much better with red scenarios because things actually happen. And I feel like if people wanted things to happen, they would just do things now instead of holding on to past and reminiscing about things that aren't anymore. So what do you think? Do you think things would be better if we went back to red scenarios and people claiming more admin bias and whatnot? Or do you feel like there are things that you can do in the game, but a lot of people just don't?
Well, you both make good points. I defer to um, overall red scenarios were a freaking nightmare. Just just all the headaches, and I was a moderator for a red scenario as well as a participant, and I think I moderated 3 or 4, and I participated in 3 or 4. So I'm probably of the old guys, I'm one of the more experienced red team participants and moderators, and they were just a nightmare. Every time something happened that somebody didn't agree with, they claimed bias, and in some cases that was probably warranted, but in other cases just people whining. It was just a huge headache, and at the time I was kind of pissed off when they got rid of them because it was our only method of impacting the game in a larger way. But now we have a lot more options now than we did back then, so I don't necessarily think that's a valid argument as much as it was, say, 10 years ago. Well, actually longer than 10 years ago when we had red scenarios.
Interesting. Since we're no longer in the time of red scenarios, and things seem to be progressing pretty rapidly towards combat, how do you feel about the way it's going? What's your opinion on the current state of it?
I don't know how it's gonna work. I know how bandit combat works, and I know how PvP works on the PvP planets, but I don't know how that's gonna translate to global combat in terms of, can I be parked in a system and somebody just come and blow me away while I'm asleep at night? I think that aspect's something that really has to be looked at, because it's really gonna drive players away if say a character they've been working on for 10 years, you wake up in the morning and they're gone just because you went to sleep and somebody ganked you pretty much, and it's permadeath. So I'm kind of worried about how that's going to go, and there needs to be a mechanism in place that allows I guess retribution. I don't know, but Cell's a smart guy, so he's going to figure this stuff out before global combat. So right now I'm enjoying what we have, and I have no issues with it.
I see. Well, I think we're going to take a small break and hear a word from our current sponsor.
At Corex, you're not just a client, you're family, and we treat you like it. With fixed rates so high, you'll be glad you switched. Visit us at corex.us for a better kind of banking.
I had somebody ask you the time that you tried to kidnap them, and there was a ship looting instead.
Okay, that is a total mischaracterization, Philip Bromley. Um, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. I hired Bromley to move a ship for me or something like that. It was a long time ago. But I hid on the ship in a vehicle, and I was planning to capture and ransom her or some shit. I wasn't going to kill him. But I was traveling for work at the time. I was in an airport using their Wi-Fi, and it was horrible. So Bromley was hiding on his ship, as one does. So I was trying to figure out a way to get him off his ship. So I promised him some armor, and I told him it was locked up, and he should go and open the door and get it, and then I was gonna jump out and get him. Um, but I had horrible lag, so by the time I got out of my ship, he had already went up there and got the armor and left. So I don't consider it a looting because I already told him he could have the armor. It was like an IRG set or something that I have hundreds of. So no big deal there, Bromley. Stop inflating your own ego and go back to inflating mine. Thank you.
Speaking of inflating egos, another question that you were asked was about the very first heist that you pulled as a pirate and the circumstances surrounding it, as well as if it was successful and how you felt about the result.
Oh wow, that's going back a long time, and let me think. I've never really gotten into the whole thieving, scamming aspect because I'm just not that charismatic like Kerr and Greenberg were. Um, However, I was always more into the whole killing people deal. So I think my first big job on Idola, for Idola, was Orlin. Shoot, what was her name? Anyways, it was two Imperials, and I boarded the ship and killed both of them. It was great fun. It was memorable as a GNS because I drew a picture of me holding up the head of this Imperial army person that I killed, and she was like the sister of Alexander Fell, who was at the time the Imperial Intelligence Director. So it kind of made a stink, and it was great fun.
All right then. I think we're almost out of questions. Though I have a question.
Okay.
What is the biggest change that you've seen in the game so far from your very first day till now?
Well, the game is completely different. When I first joined, we didn't even have ships. Nobody had ships. I remember when they assigned they assigned all that out. It was my first faction assigned ship was a CR-90 Corvette named the Comanche, and we were so excited when we first got it because nobody really had any ships back then, and yeah, it was fun. So we didn't have anything, we didn't have any travel. The way you leveled up was there's an old system called ICIS, which was the Combine client, and you would leave it up, and it would display banners, and you got points for all the banners that you saw, but it was limited. But you got CPs for that, and you could use those CPs to get XP or credit. The first ship I got with my CPs was a drop ship, and I was like so excited because I was going to make a fortune on this drop ship, and now they're not worth anything. So but the game's just completely different. We actually have a client now that you can interact with rather than just uh, get the. I mean, ICIS didn't do anything.
Wasn't there something that came after that?
Oh, I think that was Holocom. I might be wrong about that, but it was. I don't remember it too well because it was right between like ICIS and the Darkness browser that we use now. Browser is not the right word, but yeah, whatever. It was between ICIS and Darkness, and it was basically kind of the same as our room movement system now. But ICIS and Holocom weren't linked together, so it was really weird. But the only reason I really remember it is I got lost in Kurain's huge Libra battle station. It had hundreds of rooms in it. I got lost and I couldn't get out, so that was funny. But that's the only thing I remember about that.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to?
I am really excited about the quest systems, and I would actually rather have that than combat, because I don't want combat released until it's done right, and I think something like quests you can release, and you can release it in phases, and you can improve it as you go. Whereas combat, if you release a unfinished combat product, people are going to lose years of their characters over game balance issues that need to be worked out first. So really, really, Quest is what I'm excited about, specifically lightsaber Quest.
What are you going to do for your retirement? It's something that you and I have spoken about before, but I don't know if everybody knows. So surprise! Squall is going to retire. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Well, I have no definite plans for my retirement. It's just something that I've been considering for a while, based on the fact that I've been playing this game 17 years, literally longer than I've been an adult. I've been in the army 13 years, so that should I'm almost 30. Um, so I have two kids. I'm married. I teach martial arts, so it's getting to the point where it's hard for me to manage my time effectively, and I want Idola to have the kind of leadership that it deserves. And so it's just something I'm considering, and it's not to say that it'll happen, in the next month or two. It could be a year from now. It could be 2 years from now. It kind of just depends on my level of excitement for the game. And I've considered retiring before, and something's happened that's always pulled me back, such as when I became force sensitive, or like when Sin captured Seal. That was like a huge moment for Idola. So it energized me to be more active. So if something like that happens, say maybe the quest systems are released in the next few months, that'll certainly play a role in the timeline I choose to relinquish control and finally maybe kill old Squall off.
Would you ever give up control of Idola before that?
Certainly, and we've considered it before. When Tenial was still around, Kara and I traded leadership multiple times, so it's not something I really have a problem doing. It's just you know finding finding the right balance for doing what's best for Idola, and I don't necessarily think stepping down right now is right, but it could be coming. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Well, thank you, Squall, for coming on the show today.
It was fun, other than all the audio difficulties we had, which I do apologize for. I blamed you and members, and it turns out I'm just really dumb.
I forgive you.
Well, you always do, because you're like the sweetest person in the combine. Everybody else would like stab each other and shoot each other in the face, no questions asked. But I've never heard anybody say anything bad about you, and you're a freaking galactic treasure. So I do want to take this time to thank you for putting this podcast together. I think it's a brilliant idea, and you're doing a great job. I also want to thank everybody in Idola for making sure we're still out there kicking ass and taking names, and of course the administration for putting together a game that has trapped me for 17 years. And I want to congratulate Cell for his new position as Sim Master. It's a long time coming, and I think out of anybody that could have been considered, he's the best option, because he's just been doing great things. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening, and may the force be with you.